So there you go, over 35, beauty and life, mental health, and BTS. And if these are things that interest you, welcome, friend love. Get your coffee, because we gotta talk. Hi, I am Ashley Sue, and hopefully I am Girl Meets Fire. Yeah. If you're new here, hi. If you aren't, hi again. Wow, that sucks. I wanted to make this video for a really long time, in part to free myself of parts of myself, and in part to define this channel, which has always kind of been a complete mess. It started as a makeup focused channel. I was 37 and decided that I wanted to throw myself in full-fledged into loving myself and caring for myself in ways that I hadn't allowed myself to before. Yeah, makeup wasn't going to be the thing that fulfills me. It's a step toward it. So, but in trying to make this video, I had issues because I had lost myself. And in fact, I lost myself a long time ago, long before I ever even tried to make this channel, long before my 30s. In my 20s, I think like most people, I wanted to be someone who mattered. And I didn't know what that looked like or meant, but I sought it. I wanted to matter. I had a very blurry image of what that might look like, very superficial image of what constituted someone who mattered, but I set out to figure that out and be part of that. But along the way, I started to listen to all the authoritative sounding voices in my life that tell me that what my interests are, the things that actually do make me me. You know, as you grow up, people tell you to grow up, and they tell you that you're childish, that you're selfish, that your interests are too frivolous, and that you need to buckle down. And then those voices start to tell you that you're too flirty, that you're too open, that you're too talkative, that you're too vulnerable. At least that's what the voices told me. And I believed them. They told me that I was too open and too weak. And at 41, I can look back and realize the only thing I was too much of is too weak. I was weak enough that I believed them, that I listened to them. It was important to me to win them over. So I needed to stop being so much of. I gave away those parts of myself bit by bit by bit, and so here I am. And I know that I'm here to talk about moving ahead, but I can't do that without talking about what lies behind me so that I can let go of that. So before I knew it, I was 40, and I had spent 20 years becoming more and more afraid of myself because of those people in my life, those voices of people who love me, but they were afraid, and their fear. People love projecting their own fear onto you, and this is probably really relatable to some of you. More than ever, I completely respect young people who suit up in their armor and fight for their future and for who they are, because those voices from well-meaning parents, boyfriends, girlfriends, grandparents, church members, neighbors, teachers, they flood us, and we are taught to obey blindly. And for some of us, that's just a trap we get into. And for some people, they're okay with that. That's the life they want to live. They want to walk that path. And for some of us, it's a struggle because we have fought everything about who we are. January 2020, when I turned 40. At that point, I was in a very long-term depression. At that point, I was 8 months deep into planning my death. I had the plans made. I had the letters written. The only thing I hadn't figured out is who was going to raise my children with Marcus while he was at work. and staying alive made absolutely zero sense to me. My death made complete sense to me. There are points in my life where I wanted to die, but not where it was so concretely factual that I should. And my mind was there. When I turned 40, my mind was there. I longed to die. All the things that I thought were going to heal me in my life had not healed me. I, for some reason, always kind of held 30 on a pedestal. I thought people in their 30s have it figured out. I was married to somebody who I had loved my whole life. I became a mom. I survived my dad's death. In a sense, I had a lot of freedoms and a lot of blessings. So why didn't I feel healed from any of those things? Instead, I felt angrier and more alone and more isolated than I had ever felt in my entire life. In a moment of clarity and desperation back in November of 2019, I reached out to a number of therapists and let them know what I had been through and that I was deep into suicide ideation, and one reached out to me and passed me to somebody else. And so in January of 2020, I finally started therapy. Then March happened and the world shut down. It was the walking dead out there. People, myself included, were afraid to walk past their mailbox. I was afraid to take the kids for a walk because heaven forbid we walked through a cloud where somebody else had walked and breathed through. But other than being afraid of seeing people, our lives didn't change. My husband's an essential worker, so he was at work every day. He didn't so much as even miss a half a day. But I had been looking for, in February I started looking for a part-time nanny to, not to replace me, but to give me respite from very serious emotional burnout that I'm experiencing is relegated to my children and how they came into my life. But the nanny search inevitably stopped during COVID. But even though my day-to-day life was the exact same, feeling very confined to the four walls of this house, March, April, May, they were still surreal because the world out there, holy crap, just an utter mess, utter mess. Then came Ahmaud Arbery and Christian Cooper and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And if we thought the world was a shit show March and April and May, boy, did we have another thing coming. That was a really part of the world was waking up, part of the world was burning down, and we're still somewhere between those things. Families everywhere are fighting over racism, over coronavirus and visitation, over Trump. 2020, right? Okay, I'm rambling. And by that point in late summer, my energy was high. Instead of feeling asleep, I literally felt awake. My energy was so high, but so was my anger, and so was my frustration, and so was my anxiety. I didn't want to die now. I felt like I had been doing half a year's worth of work, which is usually when I ghost my therapist, by the way. This is not the first therapist I've had. I felt like I had done the work been doing the work to heal, and I didn't want to die most of the time at this point, but I felt furious at so many parts of myself, parts of my life, and the world. I was at just a burst of explosion, basically. And that's when my therapist in August diagnosed me with bipolar type too. So honestly, I actually felt a sense of relief at having a diagnosis and was like, oh, okay, there's an answer for this, and this medication helps with this, and now that I know, I can move forward with that. And right on the cusp of that, I woke up one morning and I had slipped a disc in my spine, and I don't know how it happened or when it happened, but I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I couldn't sleep. I didn't know what had happened for 9 days. I was just a freaking mess. And so October was consumed with those doctor appointments endlessly and Cobra Kai, but I still felt the way that I had and the way that I do, which isn't exactly great. And then October 19th happened, and I was sitting at a stoplight, and I suddenly had this super, super dark cloud move over me of a sadness I hadn't felt, a discernible sadness I hadn't felt in many, many, many months, if not around a year. Because weirdly, even being suicidal wasn't sad feeling to me. It was frustrating, not sad. But the sadness I had suddenly move over me was one of feeling like nothing in my life is mine. Nothing in my life is a decision I've actively made. It's decisions that other people have made for me. And I know that's a very first world sadness, but it overtook me to feel so resolutely like I am not a person of myself. Around that time, and this is gonna be a different video because it's actually a huge part of this journey, but a different journey. Around that period, I was introduced to BTS for the first time, and through October, I just really enjoyed Dynamite. It got me through, it gave me a lot of hope and encouragement during my back rehab appointments. And then enter November. November, my energy was still through the roof. I'm still anxious, I'm still frustrated, and that's fine, but I was still freaking stressed. And then knowing that Thanksgiving and Christmas is coming. And if you're in a bad place, of course, holidays tend to bring out the worst anyhow. I just wanted to get through it. I didn't even want to celebrate anything. I just wanted to get through all those holidays. Kids' birthday, like Marcus's birthday, the kids' birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and my birthday are in this like 2-month period, and I just wanted out of it. I just wanted to get through it. And at this point, I was actually bummed about my bipolar diagnosis because I had been diagnosed for about 3 months and had been on medication for 2 months and felt no difference. Nothing has changed. To this day, nothing has changed, and that's disappointing. And at that point, BTS had turned into a snowball that I had formed into an avalanche. And as November went on and I felt more and more freaked out and stressed out by life, my mental relief, my respite from my mind and from my life was watching BTS stuff after the kids went to bed. Whether that was music videos or BTS Run, it just helped calm me down. It was kind of a shining star in my day that I looked forward to. Again, there's a whole journey to that, and that is in a coming video. Because by the end of November, BTS saved me. And as a Christian, that's a really weird thing to say. And I'm sure on a lot of Christian ears that sounds crazy sacrilegious. And you know what, my journey isn't your journey. So judge whatever you want and interpret it however you will. I make no apologies, and I don't feel the need to explain anything further to anybody regarding being a Christian who was graced by BTS during a period of my life when I needed them. And that sounds so corny that a band had that impact on my life, but it did, it does. Without going into the depth of it, there are things about BTS, their message, their music that inspires me and gives me hope. And I dove into that because I needed that. I need that. And in fact, I promised myself as the year came to a close, and that was the thing each day that I looked forward to that meant something to me. I kind of wanted to be alone for New Year's Eve and in the first moments of 2021, because that's my birthday, and I did not get to be alone. We were with family, with each other and with family, and I promised myself that I would finish the year and start the new year listening to Life Goes On. That was for me. That was my gift to myself. I'm getting it. Happy New Year! So here we are now. It's January of 2021, and yes, I turned 41 on January 1st, and I am still deeply struggling with the same fears, anxieties, angers, pressures that I was feeling a year ago. And that is really disheartening after a year of hard therapy and 3 months of psychiatric whatever and medications. That stinks, because I feel irreparably broken at this point. And like things aren't going to get better. That people lie when they say that. But I do feel invigorated by God's gift of 7 Korean men in their 20s who have made it their work to uplift people. I'm really thankful for what they do and for the impression of the importance of their gift. How the did that happen? That 7 men in their 20s in Korea have shaped my life so much at 40 and 41 that I have hope, that I have glimpses of the fact that maybe things do get better. Maybe things won't feel like this always. Maybe I won't be broken. So my channel, why you're here, if you're still here, well then you're probably interested in the things that this channel is going to be about. Mental health and the importance of knowing that you never walk alone in our loneliest times. We are really actually not alone. It's just so hard. We're all standing in a dark room. We don't see that we're there. And BTS weekends. I'm going to have a 1 video a week BTS focused video of how they BTS Sugar Sundays, Serendipity Saturdays. So there you go. Over 35 beauty and life, mental health, and BTS. And if these are things that interest you, welcome friend love. I'm happy to meet you. Please introduce yourself. And if these don't interest you, it took like 15 minutes, so that was more than enough time for you to either already click out or still be here. I feel like that's such a weird way to define this channel. Whatever, it is, yeah. I'm not worried anymore, because I don't have a choice. Sometimes it is literally The Walking Dead. It is survival and doing what it takes to keep going. Thank you for being here. God bless you. BTS bless you. You never walk alone.